Hello and welcome to this first video of my 3:15 marathon training series. It's going to be my second marathon. I ran the Brighton Marathon in 2021 in a time of 3 hours and 36 minutes. And I'm going to be running the Manchester Marathon on Sunday, April the 16th this year. In this video, I'm going to share what my training plan is and how I've gone about building it. Because of family responsibilities, work and life commitments, like pretty much all of us who do this kind of thing for fun, the plan's got to be realistic, the plan's got to be flexible, but on the other hand, I really want to give this marathon training block a really good go, which means that I'm going to be aiming for weekly distances that I've never done before. Let's start this from a blank canvas and build this up in 5 different steps. I quite like the idea of repeating 3 weeks of hard running followed by a recovery week. And if I do that 3 times, that takes me to 12 weeks. I then want a taper period of 3 weeks. And then instead of doing that 3rd recovery week, I'll just start the 1st week of the taper. So this means we're looking at a 14-week training plan. That's handy, as right now, the 1st week in January, there's 15 weeks until race day. Let's number up and date those weeks. Build weeks in red, recovery weeks in green, and then taper weeks in blue. Volume is a priority for me, so I'm going to be setting weekly targets of distance to run. I want to peak on that last week of week 11, so let's try for 100 kilometres in week 11. I need to build safely up towards the 100 kilometres using the previous 8 weeks, and I'm currently comfortable running between 60 and 70 kilometres per week. So let's go with 65 kilometres in week 1, then 71 kilometres and then 77 kilometres. We'll resume on 77 kilometres in week 5, move to 83, then 88. Again, repeat 88 kilometres in week 9, then 94, peaking at 100 kilometres. Now, none of those weekly build increases are more than 110% the previous week, so that should be safe enough for my body to handle and adapt. As for the recovery weeks, drop to 55 in week 4, 65 in week 8, and finally the taper weeks. Drop down to 75, then 50, then 30 kilometres. Of course, not including the race itself. This is obviously the bread and butter of marathon training, and in my opinion, the most important run of the week. At my sort of level, and out of personal preference, instead of entirely easy-paced long runs, I like 2 types of long run. Firstly, the long run with marathon-paced blocks, which are quite hard on the body, and secondly, long runs with the first half easy, but the second half steady, which are easier on the body. So I'm going to alternate between the 2 for the plan. I want the hardest and longest long run to be on the peak week of week 11. That's going to be a 35 kilometre long run with 3 times 7 kilometres at marathon pace. Now, working backwards and bearing in mind I'm comfortable starting with a 25 kilometre long run today, I need to work out how I can safely build towards that peak long run. So week 10, I want 35 kilometres, first half easy, second half steady. Week 9, I'll go with 32 kilometres, 3 times 6k at marathon pace. Week 7, we'll go with 32 kilometres with 3 times 5k at marathon pace. Week 6, 32 kilometres, first half easy, second half steady. Week 5, 30 kilometres with 3 times 5k at marathon pace. Week 3, 27 kilometres with 3 times 4k at marathon pace. Week 2, 27k, first half easy, second half steady. And finally, week 1, 24k with 3 times 4k at marathon pace. Now I'm building up to that peak long run nicely, in increases of just 2 to 3 kilometres each week. And when there is an increase, I'm going for the easier option of first half easy, second half steady. And then the next long run becomes the same distance as the previous week, but the harder option of marathon paced blocks. As for the recovery weeks, that will just be easy pace running. So week 4 we'll have a 21k easy pace long run, week 8 we'll have 24 kilometre easy pace long run. And then as for the taper weeks, I'm going to be a little nervous of picking up a niggle or even an injury, so I'm going to back off the long runs, maybe just 21k easy on week 12 and just 16 kilometres on week 13. Once a week I'm going to do some sort of longer interval session, just to get the body used to running at paces faster than marathon pace, working more around the threshold and the 10k paced efforts. I like simplicity, so I quite like 6 to 8 by 1k repeats, mile repeats, 3 by 2k repeats. So I'm going to sprinkle these in, and we'll keep the easier ones for straight after the recovery weeks and the harder ones just before the recovery weeks, so the body gets to take advantage of those recovery weeks after a really hard week. I'm including a 3k warm-up then and a 3k cool down for these runs. The rest of the runs throughout the week will now be easy paced or recovery runs, just to make sure I achieve the weekly distance goals. I'm aiming to keep a total of 5 runs per week for the first half of block, topping out at 6 runs per week for the latter part. That's it then, my plan for a 3 hours 15 marathon at Manchester. You'll notice that I haven't even set days on which I'm going to do each run. That's because I've got to mix this in with family, work, life and other commitments. So each weekend I'll plan the days on which I'll do each run for the following week. That approach seems to have worked for me so far. So also at this stage I haven't planned anything for the taper weeks. But that's because realistically, who knows what the situation will be then with niggles and injuries and just how the body is feeling. So I'd rather play that by ear nearer the time. Are you training for a spring marathon? Are you going to be running the Manchester Marathon? Do let me know, and thanks for watching.